But it's also the same thing with my fucking dates too. Fuck. I'd go out on a date and I'm sitting there, romancing them, occasionally making out in the dark recesses of the mall. And, I'm like, I'll get them a gift. And the way I got them the gift was either A, I signed up for a fucking credit card one more time to get the free gift, or B, I would walk into Spencer's and steal something shiny.
This happened to one of my friends. He was on a date with a girl he was semi-serious with, and the police picked him up on some sort of driving charge, and the girl had to go home in the back of a police car. He wasn't doing anything, illegal at the time, meaning those 5 seconds they caught him, those 5 seconds they got him, but
I toss about and do crazy shit. And now I am single again. This kind of bodes well for me. Even though the whole thing is, with fucking Princess, she was the best relationship I ever had up until about a month and a half, 2 months ago, whenever we started the open relationship thing. And then everything just kind of fell apart. Mostly because she was doing all kinds of fucking crazy shit and getting involved with the wrong crowd over it. Because, I think she was trying to relive bits of her youth, even though she's pushing 40. So maybe this is fucking midlife crisis shit, trying to relive parts of your youth. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to do that too, but I need to get a job, which means I need to get piss tested. So I can't do that shit.
I mean, it's not for me to say, but I will say that I didn't think it was gonna I'm not gonna say I didn't think it was going to work out, but open relationships tend to lead to shit like that.
Yeah.
So it was I was kind of, well, I wish you guys all the best. I've seen what happens. I mean, personally, she's dating someone who's 23 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Now she is. Before that, it was like someone was 32. Or something along those lines.
I've dated a woman 22 years older than me.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, we'd still be together, but she just disappeared. I mean, it was funny. I was 20 or some shit. She was like, "How old are you?" I was like, 20. And I was like, she was like, how? She was like, "Oh, I'm 42. Is that gonna, bother you?" I was like, "Nope, don't care."
One girl I kind of dated, but she kicked me out of her house because that was the first place I moved after the 12 Steps According to Jesus cult. She was 22, 23 years older than me. Before that, the oldest I dated was 16 years older than me. And she was fucking nice because she was cut and burnt, so no kids, clean. So I'd fucking go in with her bareback, and I didn't have to really put much effort into trying to be a stamina man. Because nice. Anytime I would fucking come inside her, she would fucking convulse in complete orgasm. Of course, I would put in some effort. It's just I didn't have to. It was nice knowing that.
And the funny thing is, nobody said a damn thing of that. I mean, because it was public who I was dating. It was never she was she asked me, not that I care, but you are aware that I'm old enough to be your mom or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, okay. I mean, we talked about it just to make sure we were all both cool with it. And we were. So it wasn't gross or anything. It was just, yeah, you know what? If we feel attraction to each other. So it was just, but nobody else said a damn thing about it. I mean, they were like, well, yeah, she's a bit old for you, but you're an adult, so fucking do whatever you want. And she was a very nice person. It was, we'd still be together, but I think she found, because it was a long distance, so I think she found someone else. But, I mean, would I do it again? Yeah, sure. I think 22, 23 is about my limit.
Well, while I was still brainwashed in the throes of the fucking 12 Steps According to Jesus cult, I went to this one AA meeting and bumped into this one chick, and fuck, she was out of her head, but she was interested in me, so, and I was all fucking desperate because I was homeless and shit.
Yep.
And she was staying in another shelter across town, so we would find different spots that we could hide from people and fuck out in the middle of fucking anywhere.
Yes.
And, you know, she's there saying, I want you to come inside me and all this shit. Meanwhile, she's trying to have my fucking kid to tie me down. And I didn't realize this until, like, you know, I started to fucking wake up to that situation, except I was waking up according to the 12 steps according to Jesus. You know, saying, this is a sin, blah, blah, blah. God, I got to quit this now. I feel so ashamed. And, like, you know, 2 weeks after I cut things off with her, she said that, like, she was pregnant and had a miscarriage, and the kid was, like, you know, half formed and all this shit. And she named him after me and all that. It's like, oh, fuck. And I dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, that is a bullet being dodged. Wow.
And, you know, shortly after I moved in with the fucking creeper who was busted, like about a year later, like he had this couple staying with us because they were being kicked out and all this shit. And like he was busted filming the chick in the shower. So I fucking moved out after that. But while I was still living with him, I started dating this fucking 21-year-old girl. So that was a decent age difference of 13, where, you know, I was technically old enough to be her dad. So, and the age difference really showed in there. Like with the older chicks, I could play off the age difference because I liked me some older music. But with her, it was like, you know, oh my God, you listen to crap.
Well, and a lot of it is, I mean, I've never dated any girl who was even remotely interested in music, but for me, it was the conversation. And it was the talking about things and the fact that, you know, I was, you know, fairly inexperienced about the whole sex thing. I mean, I'd have, you know, stands, but it wasn't too, you know, and she was like, well, I'll teach you. I was like, okay, you know, but it was mainly an intellectual thing. When I dated someone my own age or whatever, we would try to get into intellectual conversations, but they would just kind of zone out. Whereas even, I mean, she wasn't the smartest person, but she was bright. So we were talking, and she would, you know, well, I thought about this, and I came to this, and, you know, so we started talking. I was like, wow, I'm actually having a decent conversation with this woman, and she had kids, so that was a bit weird. And her kids were like, I don't want to say my age, but they were. And I actually talked to one, and she's like, well, it's a bit weird because you're my age, but whatever. If you love her, then fuck, you know, whatever. You know, the kids were actually very understanding and shit. We actually go. I still get messages from them every now and then. Hi, you know, because even though she's kind of left, we're still kind of sort of friends. And one of the kids is like, she might come back to you. I don't know. And I was like, okay, you know, if she were to come back, that's fine. Because we didn't really fight her. And it was just, you know, she needed someone to satisfy whatever need. So, but
yeah, well, with a 21-year-old, I was still dating her after I moved out of the creeper's house into my sister's apartment back home, which was quite a distance away. We're talking Washington City, Pennsylvania to Jeannette, which is near Greensburg. Anyone familiar with the geography? But just keep in mind, this is quite a distance away. And, you know, we were still dating and we were talking about getting an apartment. And dear God, this is where like youthfulness fucking just started like ripping me, because her idea of what we could afford as an apartment was like this lush place with a fucking spiral staircase and all this space, and it was awesome. Reality, we could afford the apartment I did end up renting eventually, which was the shower was in the middle of the living room, the shitter was off to the side, and he had to install a sink yet, and there was just enough room for a dorm fridge and a microwave and a toaster oven.
Yeah, that's reality for you, and that's something I was exposed to. But yeah, we could afford this plush place. What crack are you doing?
Yeah, not on the income of McDonald's. Come on. And like she wouldn't even had a job moving there, and so she would have to fund one and all this. And she gave me money to put down for like down deposit and rent on somewhere, But then she decides to break up with me before I could give it back to her because my sister wasn't letting me borrow her car to see her anymore because my sister was going through her fucking selfish phase and getting ready to kick me out, even though I was paying half the bills for her. And whenever my sister kicked me out, she realized she couldn't afford her own apartment anymore. So, yeah, that ended real well for my sister.
Damn.
And the funny part was, like, over the years, she kept saying, I should have never kicked Jimmy out. I should have never kicked Jimmy out. Meanwhile, I was capable of affording that fucking little shit apartment, barely surviving off the fucking one meal a day I'd get at fucking McDonald's and whatever scraps I could get from the dollar store, which was mostly ramens and Vienna sausages. I was, so fucking broke, and at least I had free cable for a while too, because I had the same cable that was up in the storefront that was owned by the landlord. So, that was going on for me.
That's good.
And, eventually I ended up getting a car, and the insurance really fucking stretched my budget. And that's whenever I was allowed to move back in with my mom and aunt. So, I moved there because I had the car, and the car fucked up and all. It's a long story. And this is whenever I met Princess, who, throughout this whole thing, and we ended up getting together, and I ended up moving in with her. And this is like whenever I changed jobs and everything started getting better because I was working a decent, steady job.
And then you went on Facebook and met us, and your life took a shit.
Yes, but I kind of needed that shit to stir up my life.
Yeah, true.
Like I said, it was fucking awesome, though. Like, for the first several years of this relationship, she would have... I never asked for this shit, and anyone that knows me knows that I really do not dig the traditional roles of man and woman. That's something I have rebelled against. But of her own accord, me never asking, me never demanding, I would wake up and she would have my lunch made for me for work. She would cook dinner for me whenever I got home. And this is on top of her working too. It was like, oh fuck, this is like fucking bliss. And we would go out and do things like run around parks and shit like we were little kids, fucking jumping on swing sets and shit. And we'd fucking be half hammered sometimes doing that.
I need a photo of you jumping on a swing set to blackmail you with.
Oh, there's plenty on her profile.
I'm evil. Actually, I think it'd be hilarious you talking about all this death and destruction, sodomy, and then I put a photo of you smiling at a fucking swing set.
I will do that whenever I edit this video.
Yes, do that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really into the whole traditional man and woman. The only thing is she needs to be able to cook because I can't fucking cook. I mean, I'm actually kind of dangerous while cooking.
Oh, duh, you're blindy.
Well, blind people can cook. It's just that I'm not good with fire. I have a very bad relationship.
Cool. Fire is cool. Fire is to be worshipped. Oops, the house is on fire. Must worship it. Wait a minute, I'm burning alive here. Maybe I should exit the house and worship it from outside.
I have a saying, anything that's remotely dangerous, I will hurt myself with it on accident. If it's an aluminum, I've cut my finger on aluminum cans before. Usually trying to, because it doesn't open properly, so you have to like jimmy it open, and if I can cut your finger. I have splintered myself on wood. Yes, anything dangerous I will hurt myself with. So yes, fire, not good. I'm a microwaving champion though.
Now, after the 21-year-old broke up with me before she got her money back, I ended up getting online, and I really hit it off with this one chick from Erie. Like, we were talking Cannibal Corpse and Morbid Angel and all kinds of death metal and shit. And like, she met fucking Cannibal Corpse during one tour, and I met them during another, and fucking drank with them and shit. And like, we were hitting it off left and right, talking about fucking cheesy B-rated fucking horror films and all kinds of good shit. It was like fucking match made in heaven. So I finally save up my money, you know, just a couple weeks after starting to bullshit with her online. And I make the trek from Southwest PA the whole way up to Erie, which is on the northern edge. It's still on the western part, but the northern edge. And fucking meet up with her, and we're hitting it off. And here she turns out to be a squirter. First time I ever had a fucking squirter, and dear God, is that shit hot. You know, and like we're hitting it off, and we're talking about getting married and shit. And their mother says, well, she might have a few surprises for you, which I didn't think about that comment, because she was living with this guy, this supposedly gay roommate who was into fucking other guys and shit. And I didn't put two and two together whenever he was trying to have extremely loud, rough sex while we were trying to have sex, you know, thinking that this might be him trying to throw us off. Here I find out a couple months later, while we're starting to dissipate talking a little bit, that she was still married, and the guy she was married to was the supposedly gay guy who she was reconciling with. And yeah, you know, here I am. I almost broke up that marriage. I did end up breaking up Princess's marriage.
Well,
I'm officially a home wrecker.
I dated a girl off and on for about 2 years now, and she actually admitted to me that she was married, but in a loveless marriage, and she's since got divorced. And I was like, I don't have a problem with that. So I'd probably help break up that marriage. So
good job.
I've broken up relationships if they were, you know, if I thought the guy was a complete dick or whatever.
But yeah, that was something nice and fucked up there. It was like, you know, I was thinking match made in heaven, and here you're still married to the guy, you're sticking with him, you got knocked up by him, and okay.
Well, that's a shame. Like I said, I've never met a girl who was even remotely interested in metal. I mean, the closest one liked emo and pop punk, and I was like, it's better than nothing. Not really. I mean, I'd honestly rather have a girl who didn't know any of my music rather than a girl who liked that. But yes, cheesy B-rated horror movies are the best.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta watch some of those on Google Hangouts. Whenever you and I have like a whole night to fucking spare, we just gotta sit down and find some on YouTube and just watch, listen to the dialogue and.